We're back, people. We are back. Your favorite, and I'm never lying. I ain't lied for 3 years. I'm never lying when I say this. Your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airways, rolling with Ramos, is back. I happen to be the one that holds the last name Ramos. I like to specifically thank my daddy for that one, Mike Ramos in heaven. I wish I could tell you about this one, but we hope you see. Episode, okay, before I do all that, right? Typically, you know, typically, I'm paying homage to somebody. We've gone 3 years and gone through 99 jerseys. Last week we paid homage to the GOAT, the great one is of the National Hockey League. His name is Wayne Gretzky. This week we done ran out of jerseys. We done ran out of numbers. We're gonna have to figure out something. I knew this day would come. I was not prepared. Episode 100. Episode 100 of your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airwaves, rolling with Ramos. Episode 100. And not to be outdone, because if there's a milestone for me, it's definitely a milestone for him, because in all of those 3 years, with the exception of what, 5 episodes?
Yeah, something like that.
The true star, Tristan, Hundo, 100.
I'm not the star. I'm not the star. This is Mikkel's vision from day one. She is the brains and the vision behind this entire thing. I'm just so glad to be a part of it. I'm glad that we got here to this milestone. This is a huge, huge deal. A lot of podcasts and shows like this that are started like this don't get this far. They tail off after a while. So for us to keep, through everything, the changing of locations, changing of life happening. I mean, a lot of things that took place, and then we were able to get to this point. It's truly something to behold and be a part of. So we gotta be excited about it, man. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. We should call. I know what to call it. I figured it out.
Episode 100th, the 100th episode, right?
Yeah, exactly. We normally pay homage, and we can at least do it with this one, because we can call it the Wilt Chamberlin edition for 100. 100 point, 100th episode, the Wilt Chamberlin edition.
Look at the think tank. Look at the think tank.
What Carmelo? Carmelo.
You already know I like 3 to the dome. They had a
yeah.
You already know I love me some Mellow. So for once, you're talking my language. And they did this thing on Bleacher Report early today where they nominated the top celebrations. So you had James Harden,
right?
Swaggy P, 3 to
Swaggy
the dome. So you the Rondo. So you had all these.
Oh things. Yeah.
And Melo still reigns supreme. I don't know. It's something about what he does that. It's like, oh, he's playing.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because I really kept it simple, the 100th episode. So now we got to take a picture with the 100. We got to figure that out. I still have cookies. But anyway, episode 100. Please drop those comments down below. Talk to us. Tell us how much you've enjoyed watching and listening to Rolling with Ramos over the course of 3 years. And now our 100th episode. We thank you for tuning into us every week. You could get your sports anywhere. There's plenty of places you can get sports. I mean, you can go to ESPN, you can go to Bleacher Report, you can go anywhere else. Our little podcast here is not the mainstream. It is not in front of everybody's eyes all the time. But what you do is you make Rolling with Ramos a place where you get your sport. You trust me And you allow me to show you sports through my eyes. You trust the vision and knowledge of Tristan because he knows best. He knows everything. And you allow us to come in your living rooms, wherever you are. You take us on the go all the time. It's crazy because the same thing you just said. A lot of people have said, I started a podcast and didn't make it past such and such and such and such. And we've gone through different rooms. This room being taken away from us, this studio being taken away from us. We had to find a different location. We've juggled members.
Yep.
COVID, days where we were sick. He was sick. I was sick. He couldn't come. Tristan drives all the way from DC, from Virginia, when he was driving to Baltimore just to be with little old me when he doesn't have to. I appreciate that every week. The sacrifices we spend, away from our families, from sleep. Because some of us work overnight. Some of us wake up in the morning. We have not finished shows and gotten home till 10, 11 o'clock and have turned it around. We thank y'all. With all due respect, it's not even about all that, because if you want to do it, if you want to make it happen, and if you want something, you'll make it bad enough. But because of you and how much you continue to talk to us, be with us, share with us, laugh with us, let me yell at you. Any Cowboys fans tonight, you're gonna be angry at me. I'm sorry. In general, 100 episodes. Wow. Our next big celebration, what's that? What was it, 150? I never know these.
150 would be the 150.
That's centennial. Whew. But anyways, we're gonna stay at 100. Wilt Chamberlin edition. Let's start, Tristan, with the NFL, shall we? And we go the first 4 games off the top of the bracket. We also go into Week 7's power rankings. Number 1, the Seattle Seahawks, ladies and gentlemen. They stay at number 1. Number 2, the Kansas City
Come on,
Chiefs.
Russell.
Huh?
Russell Wilson, MVP. That's my guy.
We're not going to talk about the weapons that may or may not be on teams until they actually happen. We're going to leave that as it may, because we don't want to play crystal ball. We're not going to do that. But anyways, number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. They come up 1. They were number 3 last week. Number 3, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They jump up big time, that Pittsburgh defense. They were 6th last week. The Baltimore Ravens, they stay at 4. The Tennessee Titans, they come from 8 to 5. Number 6, the Green Bay Packers, they were 2 last week. They dropped to number 6. Number 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were 12 last week, Tristan. They dropped. They come back up to 7. Number 8, the Buffalo Bills. They go from 5 to 8. They drop. Number 9, the New Orleans Saints. They stay in the same spot. And number 10, the Los Angeles Rams. They go from 7 last week, dropping 3 to 10. Let's start on Sunday, shall we? And you can stop me anywhere you want to stop me. I'm just going to go through the first 4 because we're trying something new here. Texans, Titans. The Texans beat the Titans. The Titans beat the Texans 42-36. Derrick Henry, another good one. Bengals, Colts. The Colts beat the Bengals 31-27. The Falcons and the Vikings. The Falcons got one. They beat the Vikings 40-23. And the Broncos and the Patriots. Joe Flacco is looking like Father Time has come and knocked on his door, unfortunately. And we've never seen the Patriots this a little shaky. We know Cam Newton just came back from COVID. He looked a little rusty. But they lose to the Broncos 18-12. Anything you got to say about these ones?
So I want to start with the Titans team. This is looking like a time and a moment where we could see 2 MVP candidates on the same team. We haven't seen that. Now, bring it to my recollection. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. We haven't seen that kind of production out of the days of the Rams when it was Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk. I think that was the last time that I can remember. There could have been more, but that's the last time I can remember of two players on the same team possibly going for being MVP candidates. We have to acknowledge Ryan Tannehill being a potential MVP candidate. When you look at his numbers, you look what he's doing. He's right up there with some of the best in football right now at the quarterback position. But we all know that the buck starts and ends with King Henry.
Mm.
He is balling, and who would have thunk
Is
it? I
anybody
mean,
going to check on Josh Norman?
well, listen, he probably still somewhere on the turf somewhere. But here's my thing. This is what's so funny, and this is one of the moments that I like to kind of feel myself on this because I remember saying a few years ago, I said they need a different coach to coach Derrick Henry. The philosophy that they were trying to go with, they were trying to air it out. They were trying to make him run out in the flag, catch the ball a bunch of times. Da, 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 da. I said that's not Derrick Henry's game. You give him the ball and you let him do his thing. And lo and behold, Mike Vrabel becomes the head coach. He is a smash mouth coach, old school mentality, right from the Bill Belichick tree. And look what's happening. Derrick Henry is arguably the best running back in football right now. That's what's happening right now because you don't do anything fancy with Derrick Henry. Everybody knows you can't do anything fancy with Derrick Henry. The difference is that you can't stop it. Derrick Henry is 6'4", 200 and I think like 60 pounds, solid. He's literally a defensive end that runs like a 4.5, 4.4. That's what you're dealing with. So anytime he gets in the open field, all those corners like Josh Norman, the safeties, all those guys, you're literally making a business decision to tackle Derrick Henry. So if you can't get him down at the initial start of the play, if he gets them legs going and he gets a full head of steam, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. So shout outs to the Titans. Shout outs to Mike Vrabel being an awesome. I always felt like he was going to be an awesome coach. Shout outs to him for doing an awesome job with that organization. Shout outs to Ryan Tannehill for proving everybody once again that Adam Gase was the problem and not you, because he's showing right now. I'm sure Miami Dolphins fans are praying that Tua pans out because they literally should be kicking themselves if Tua doesn't pan out because Ryan Tannehill is balling and y'all had him in your backyard and y'all swore it was Adam Gase. I'm just saying. But shout out to the Tennessee Titans for doing what they're doing. They are the real deal. Defense is playing lights out. It's awesome to see.
If you've been watching, my volume went down, so I had to try to turn it up. So I'm on this tripod, and the tripod of where I have my phone set up, it was on the down button. So sorry if you saw my hands. I was trying to fix it. This is
at least they were
live
clean.
television, okay? This is what we do. Work with
this
me
is
in
clean
the
hands.
pandemic.
Clean hands. Clean hands.
Clean hand, clean hand. And you're still tuned in to our 100th episode. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you drop those comments down below. Make sure you talk to us. Let's get into some Major League Baseball, Tristan, because I work at a station where we play Major League Baseball, and the news had to come on at 1 o'clock because the World Series ran over an hour. The World Series, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's all tied up, Tristan. Rays bounced back to beat the Dodgers 6-4 in Game 2 after lopsided Game 1 loss. You will see Game 3 tomorrow. Of course, you won't see it tonight because it's Thursday Night Football. Early indications that the Los Angeles Dodgers would simply sweep away the Tampa Bay the Tampa Bay Rays in the World Series were momentarily checked on Wednesday when good competition returned to the Fall Classic. The boys, the Rays, responded after bad loss in Game 1. Brandon Lowe, the Rays' second baseman who had been in a slump, clouded 2 home runs and knocked in 3 runs overall to lead the Rays offense, and Blake Snell limited the Dodgers to 2 runs in 4 2/3 innings to help ensure the Rays recorded a vital victory. With Lowe shaking off of his slump and the team registering 10 hits, the Rays have newfound hope that their entire offense will break out during the World Series as well. Game 3 is Friday night at the same ballpark. All games of this World Series are being played at a single neutral site because of the coronavirus pandemic. Tristan, how are you feeling about the World Series? We actually have a sport that's supposed to be playing kind of right now. So, the Fall Classic, how you feeling about it?
Well, it's all about how Kershaw does in regards to the series, when it comes down to crunch time, we're still kind of early. I think Game Three is really going to tell you what this series will be and what it entails. I'm still leaning towards the Dodgers, and the reason why is because even though the Rays took Game Two, the Dodgers were making a comeback in the game. The Dodgers were. It was like they just started off so slow. I don't know what it was. I don't know if they were just overconfident with what happened in Game One, and they just got cocky. I don't know what happened, but they started waking up and started coming back around and getting themselves together. I think for the fact, because I believe Kershaw will be back up in Game Three pitching. I believe, and he played lights out Game One. Played lights out, but we all know the issue with Kershaw um, is not that he's not great. He should be an all-time great. But what happens is when the pressure is on, can he deliver? So Game Three is definitely going to be telling to see what's going to happen. I think Game Three will determine exactly, exactly. I think Game Three will determine ultimately who will win this series. I'm still leaning towards the Dodgers because they did were they did have a flurry making their way back. It was just a little too late, but uh, I'm still leaning towards the Dodgers. But Game Three, if Kershaw. I believe Kershaw is pitching. I want to see what that looks like. I want to see how he is, knowing that it's big time to take a lead like that. So Game Three is definitely going to be tough.
There's this big ideology. There's this big thing that's going on in LA as of lately. We all know that sports in general is about tributes, and when it comes to LA, it's a little bit more personal. We all know what the Lakers just did as far as their NBA championship, and there's only one guy that we can honor the legacy of in LA, and that is Kobe Bryant. We all know what they have done in paying homage to him and saying that this championship was for them. I mean, this being the first one since the last one that he brought to the city of Los
Yeah.
Angeles. Kobe, of course, 17, 18, come to the Lakers. Um, Grew up in LA, raised his children in California. He brought his family to Dodgers games, and his wife went to Dodgers games. He enjoyed the sports scene in LA because he was a part of it. Um, does that ideology of winning it for Kobe, does that trickle down to the Dodgers? Of course, it's not going to be that big of a pedestal as we would put on the Lakers to seal the deal as they did it. But for how big would it be for the city of LA if the baseball team and the basketball team both won championships in the same year and both did it in homage of number 8 and 24?
Um, I think I can't really look at it with the Dodgers as far as it being like, we're doing this for Kobe. We want to win this for Kobe. If they want to use it personally in their locker room as a motivation tool, as an inspirational tool, sure, by all means, go ahead. Because as much as Kobe Bryant enjoyed um, watching the LA teams, um, you know, when he was alive, as much as they enjoyed it, um, I'm not going to say that it's so heavily influenced the way it was for the Lakers because he was basically Mr. Laker. You can't. There was just such a huge connection with that, being that that's the team he grew up with. It's the only team he's ever known. You know what I'm saying? Like when the Philadelphia Eagles played the Super Bowl, um, he wanted the Eagles to win. He grew up a Philly fan, a Philly team. I'm pretty sure if they ever get their act together, pretty sure that the Phillies would end up being, if they were in the World Series, he'd be Philly, Philly all day. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't look at it so much like that. Now, again, if they want to use that as the motivational, inspirational tool, by all means,
But you don't see
they
the
can go ahead
connection.
and do that. No, no, I just think that'd be too much. I think that's too extra to place on that, because for all that you would have had to, you basically would have asked every single team in LA to do that, and you're not. To me, it's just not the same emotional pull as the Lakers doing it. You know what I'm saying? So that's my whole thing about that. I just don't think I don't think that would really make sense.
But
And
still
I
a
want to
big
highlight
feat
my
if
boy.
two LA teams win in the same year. Still,
I mean, it would be a big deal, but not the big deal as far as the ties for Kobe Bryant.
yeah.
It's like it'll be the big deal if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the Super Bowl because the if Tampa Bay Rays win the World Series and then the Bucks win the Super Bowl, then you got your hockey team that won the Stanley, you got your baseball team that won the World Series, and then the Bucks winning the Super Bowl. Like it's that kind of feel. Like when we had the Nationals win, the Mystics won
Yeah.
after and the Capitals winning. You know what I'm saying? Like that was that pride for DC. That was that moment. But to put Kobe Bryant's name in affiliation with that's too much.
You're tuned in to Rolling with Ramos. This is what we do. We bring you quality sports content, people. You can't say that we don't. And we do it in a big fashion tonight. This is our 100th episode. Please drop those comments down below. Talk to us. Join us. As you know, I am the one that holds the last name Ramos. I would like to specifically thank my daddy for that one. Mike Ramos in heaven. We did it. And Tristan, my man, my guy.
And let me address my boy Leroy that he commented.
Yes.
So he commented his first comment saying that he thinks that the Lakers, and there's some people that have told me this. He's not the only one.
Oh, it
said
was
that there's some Lakers
ball.
that think like the Lakers was winning was all a setup because LeBron didn't put up magnificent numbers. Listen. LeBron put a 40 burger in Game 5 to close out the series. Like that was his goal. I cannot agree with the fact of saying his numbers weren't magnificent. It might have not been the typical numbers that you see from when he played with the Cavaliers, for what he was doing then, but for what he needed to do for this team, his numbers were still pretty great in his 17th season. I think people really got to understand that. I think people forget that in the beginning when AD got here, I think people really forget that LeBron stated it wasn't like this just happened. LeBron made it clear that the show starts and ends with AD. I don't think people realize that LeBron said that at the beginning of the season. The show starts and ends with Anthony Davis. That's where it goes through. And he made that very abundantly clear at the beginning of the season. So you're not going to look for typical LeBron scoring numbers. You're not going to look for that because that's not what he was intending to do. I think people also forget that he led the league in assists in his 17th year. Averaged 10 point, I think it was like 10.2 assists a game or something like that. That is because he made sure that the engine ran through Anthony Davis. So no, we weren't going to see the spectacular scoring numbers like when he was playing with the Cavaliers and he was averaging triple doubles and was the leading scorer on both teams, the opposing team and his team. You weren't going to see that because that's not what he predicated his game to be this year. So for the standard of what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, he did it. He did it in a magnificent way. And I'm looking forward to year 18 for the purple and gold.
Let's move, but there's a rebut. But they keep comparing him to Kobe and Mike, and no way near Kobe was putting up.
And I get it.
Right on.
I hear you. But again, that's the problem. We have to stop. Okay, I know we weren't going to dig into this real quick, but let's make this real clear. I'm going to just make it short and clear.
We can't do this. We can't keep comparing. I just want to add that. Go ahead.
That's it. No, you said it. That was it. We have to stop comparing LeBron to Kobe and MJ. We have to kill that. That's what's causing all this headache. Is that we're comparing him to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And he is not that. I've never compared it because he is not them. They were scoring machines, scoring juggernauts, and they played defense and they scored. That was their purpose in life on the basketball court. That's what they were there to do. If you want to compare LeBron to any all-time great player, skill for skill, The only person you can compare LeBron to is Irvin Magic Johnson. That's it.
I mean, the
The
past should
size,
tell you enough,
the
shouldn't it?
ability. Yeah, I mean, and that's why, and I know that's why I know that's your biggest problem. That's my boy Leroy. We were teammates in high school. That's my dog. He definitely knows his sport, so I know he talks
Thank you
with
for
common sense.
joining us.
They look at right. I would say KD. If you want to go score for score, I would say KD. But LeBron is magic. LeBron is magic. LeBron's gift for passing, his vision, the size that he has, and the ability to score, even though he doesn't demand it. It to me reminds me of Magic Johnson. That's what kills everybody about this whole thing because we're trying to compare two different styles of play. Kobe Bryant is, I will say this, he is the only person that you
Sit
can
next
dare
to the
compare
GOAT.
to Michael Jordan. That's it.
Stop jumping
It's
over his
just Kobe
career.
Bryant.
Oh my gosh.
It's that's all. It's just Kobe. He's the only one that you can say is almost a carbon copy of what Michael Jordan was. That's it. No one else. There has not been anyone else quite like that. So we have to put that to rest. We have to put that to rest. Let LeBron carve out his own legacy as he's doing. That whole MJ comparison is no way to go.
Let's move on back down the NFL
I
scoreboard,
appreciate you,
shall we?
bro.
Because we can do this. This one conversation can be one whole
I
show.
mean, it could be a whole
It will
special.
be, trust me, it will be back. We will never forget it, and it will
Yeah, yeah,
always be
it'll never
top of
die.
mind. And if you missed it, hopefully, Lee, you go back and see what we said last week about Game 5. But anyways, going back down the NFL scoreboard, the Washington football team, they lose to the Giants 19-20, fairly competitive, but they lose 19-20 to the Giants. The Ravens beat the Eagles 30-28. The Browns and the Steelers in big fashion, the Steelers beat the Browns 38-7. Odell Beckham Jr., 2 receptions, 25 yards. He did not score a touchdown, but his problems with the Browns. Stephen A. Smith is calling for him and Landry to get the hell out of Cleveland. He says it's
Yeah, it's
over.
it's not it's not OBJ.
Drop it.
It's not
Let
OBJ.
him go. The Browns, Baker Mayfield, this whole 2-3 year thing, it has not seemed to come together. We don't know what on paper the Browns are supposed to be in the thick of it, they're not in the thick of it. But I think that's less of the that's less of the problems than Odell Beckham Jr. has. He has other problems on his landing strip. According to the New York Post, Odell Beckham Jr. has been banned from football facilities at LSU for 2 years as a part of an internal investigation that officials at the SEC powerhouse hope won't lead to further penalties levied by the NCAA. The Cleveland Browns receiver and former Giants star, current Browns receiver, former Giants star, was determined by the school to have committed NCAA rule violations when he handed out cash to LSU players in the locker room after his alma mater won the national championship game over Clemson in January, according to SI.com. If that doesn't tell you the difference between what he's doing in Cleveland and what he did in Giants, Cleveland receiver. He's just a receiver. He was a star in New York. I just wanted to bring that out. That was excellent wordplay there. Anyways, the school also reportedly self-penalized itself with the loss of 8 football scholarships and a reduction in recruiting visits over a 2-year time frame, or unrelated booster payments to a family member of one of a players, and reported its findings to the NCAA in early October. LSU has worked proactively and in cooperation with the NCAA to identify and self-report any violations that occurred within our football program, LSU said in a statement to SI. We believe those self-imposed penalties are appropriate and will continue to coordinate and cooperate with the NCAA on this matter. School officials initially contended that Beckham, who played 3 seasons at LSU before the Giants drafted him in the first round in 2014, handed out fake money to players after the national title game. It was later verified that he handed out $2,000 worth of $100 bills during the celebration. Odell Beckham Jr., Tristan, he's no longer welcome at LSU on campus for the next 2 years. It's also another big name that can no longer see his alma mater again, that has one of our faces on it. How do we feel about this? Not to mention, how much more does this play into the conversation about paying players, paying college athletes? Because this was all in harmless fun. Congratulations. I'm happy for y'all. It's the confetti flying in the locker room. Here you go, bro. Here you go, bro. But this wasn't that harmless because it turned into some sanctions. The conversation of college athletes being compensated for play, Tristan, in any capacity, the answer is still no. How do you feel about Odell Beckham Jr. being banned from LSU?
So when I saw this come up, my initial reaction was, oh man, you know, the NCAA, they're being pressed about the situation again. Here they go being petty and all this stuff, right? Because I mean, you know, this was it was last year. You didn't do anything. You know, everybody. First of all, we all saw on camera him doing this. We saw him dapping up the boys, cash in hand. Everybody knows that when you try to put money into my hand, everybody knows how that goes.
It's that clutch.
So we all saw that clutch. Exactly. So that's how I thought about it. But then I thought a little deeper, and here's my thing. I'm not gonna go on about the NCAA. Why? Because the NCAA are who they are, and until things change as far as their policy, this is what we're gonna get. So there's no need for me to talk about the NCAA. I'm going to talk about OBJ. You know what's happening in school, with your school. You know what's happening with the NCAA as far as how these sanctions have gone, right? Why would you make it so obvious to send money, to put money in their hands like that when you know how the NCAA acts? You could have caused some of them even draft positioning. Because I saw when he put money, I believe, in Justin Jefferson's hand. You could have caused them issues then. There's so many ways that you could give money. You couldn't wait till y'all go to wherever, you know, a little spot y'all going to celebrate to put money in their hands, outside, away from the ESPN cameras, away from the college football cameras. You couldn't wait till then to put money in their hands. You couldn't cash app them.
But
you couldn't Zelle.
But they find out everything still. Wouldn't have been found out, or at least if they didn't find out, it would have been speculation.
No. But here's the thing: the money that he put in their hands, right? The money that's put in their hands wasn't a scholarship. It wasn't anything that was benefiting for them to attend school, be in school. You were literally just giving them celebratory cash put in their hands. If you're doing that, just wait. Wait till after. I'm not. Let me be perfectly clear. I'm not upset that he gave money.
Yes.
You support your people. Support your guys. I'm not upset about that. So let me be clear. What I'm saying is be smart about the situation when you know the situation is not conducive on what you're doing. Be smart. I'm not going to put myself in jeopardy or the person that's trying to get drafted to be where you are in jeopardy by giving you cash in front of a camera. I understand in the moment, it's the euphoria of everything. I get it. But you have to be smarter than that. And that's my only thing for OBJ. He's not wrong for what he did, but he has to be smart. Do I believe a 2-year ban is necessary? No. Do I believe the school losing 8 scholarships because of it is necessary? No. But the NCAA's policy is what it is until it changes in favor for players to be able to get paid. Until that happens, it is what it is. You have to abide by it. So OBJ, you gotta be smarter than that. You have to be wiser than that, than to put them in that kind of situation. Because it might, if they really wanted to be petty, honestly, they kind of went like, they really did. If they really want to be petty, they could have penalized the players that are now, some of them are now rookies in the NFL, could have penalized them. They could have penalized some of the players that are still in LSU and told them that they're no longer eligible to play.
Could have took away
it's a lot of things that could have happened. It's a lot of things that could have happened. So for them to have done this, OBJ, you are going to have to be the quote unquote sacrificial lamb in this. You're going to have to bear the weight of 2 years not being able to go back to your alma mater. Is it fair? No. Is it unfortunate? Yes. Is it the reality? Yes. You have to deal with it because it could have been far worse. Not so much for you because you got your money, you got your career, but it would have been worse for your school. It would have been worse for the players whose money you put their hand in.
I mean, just ask Reggie Bush. He didn't put anything in anybody's hands. They put it in his.
Give Reggie back his Heisman.
Give him back his Heisman. And USC, I don't care how happy he was to go home. He should have gave y'all. He should have you know what? He should have gave them the Earl Thomas. That's what we're gonna call that move now.
That from now on, the Earl Thomas, and he should have. He should have.
And if you don't know what Earl Thomas did to the Seattle Seahawks before he left the Seattle Seahawks, you need to look it up because it's one thing that you do when you don't like somebody.
Because USC ain't been relevant since. Even when Sam Darnold was playing, they weren't that relevant. They ain't been relevant since Reggie Bush has been out of there.
Moving on to more relevancy, we go back down the NFL timeline of scores and highlights. The Bears and the Panthers, 23-16, is the Bears' victory over the Panthers. Lions and Jaguars. The Lions win big over the Jaguars, 34-16. The Jets and the Dolphins, and this is where we stay, Tristan, for obvious reasons. Joe Flacco. Speaking of the Ravens, like I said earlier, looking at Joe Flacco. Oh my God, they put him in, and Joe, January ain't coming back, baby. You have been great, but it's time to say bye. Joe Flacco, 21-44, 186 yards, 0 touchdowns. He threw a pick. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 18-27, 191 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Tua Tagovailoa, 2 of 2, 9 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The Dolphins beat the Jets 24-0. I mean, who's not beating the Jets these days? But they beat the Jets 24-0. But Ryan Fitzpatrick went from being a cheerleader to losing his starting quarterback position. As it might say it was minimal, but it did not take Tua long enough to land in that spot. Tristan, this was Ryan Fitzpatrick earlier this week. My heart just hurt all day. It was heartbreaking for me. I've been a starter. I've been benched all kinds of different ways, but this one just really more so than any of them. I just felt fully committed and invested and felt like it was my team. Through 6 games, Tristan, Ryan Fitzpatrick, 1,535 passing yards, 12 total touchdowns. Dolphins second place in AFC East. Was this the right move? Right now, you called it last week to call for Tua eventually. Maybe not recently, but eventually. Let the boy get in, let him get some reps, let's see what he can do. Him getting a couple reps turned into mania. The Dolphins have now named him as their starting quarterback. And to add insult to injury, the first defense that he has to see in his new pro career as a quarterback and at the helm for the Miami Dolphins, he has to run into former defensive player of the year, Aaron Donald, next week.
Aaron Donald. I'm a little conflicted because, normally when I see an organization make a decision on something, I can see like, okay, this happened. So that makes sense to do that. I think for Ryan Fitzpatrick, the Dolphins are 3-3. Like you said, second in the division. He looked like he was really getting his footing. Every team he's been on, they love to play for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let's make that clear. Every team he's been on, the teammates love to play for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He's such a cheerleader.
He is everything. He is great. I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, he knew when they drafted Tua. He knew that he was on borrowed time. What I gathered earlier was he didn't find out properly. That's what's happening. It seemed like he didn't find out properly. It seemed like the organization made the decision they were going with Tua. Someone let Tua know, and then Tua told somebody, and you know how that goes. Word of mouth starts going around. Mm-hmm. And so instead of finding out from the coach and the GM, he found out, I think, from a relative. I can't remember who it was. He found out from a relative
who got the
that someone had texted the
like
relative. Yeah.
Wow.
That someone found out from a relative that he was going to be the starter. So that, I think the fact of how that went about could rub the wrong way. What makes me concerned is two things. Three. One, the fact that you're bringing in Tua against Aaron Donald.
Woo.
That's one.
Would it have made a difference depending on the defensive player? Like if it was Khalil Mack,
yeah.
I mean, still we would,
No, not the player, but a different defense. If it was Khalil Mack, I'd still be just as frightened. I wish it would have been against a defense that doesn't have that kind of threat of someone potentially breaking him. That's my whole thing.
Welcome to the NFL, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's baptism by fire. But that's my first concern. My second concern is the fact that not only Ryan Fitzpatrick was hurt, someone that is a well-liked player in the league, not only was he upset, but he publicly expressed that he was upset. Mm-hmm. He publicly expressed that he was hurt. So now that's the sentimental value for Tua, the unnecessary pressure for Tua, because now you benched a light guy who was playing well, who the team was playing well, and you're the starter, an unknown commodity that's coming off, honestly, a career-threatening injury. My third concern is the fact that if Tua doesn't look like Justin Herbert and doesn't look like Joe Burrow, that Miami's just going to run him off, because that's going to be the talk, especially Justin Herbert, because a lot of people felt that the Chargers might have taken Tua instead of Justin Herbert. So that's really the concern that I have in regards to Tua starting at this point in time. If they were 2-4, if they were 1-5, and just kind of out of contention, I'd be like, okay, I wouldn't even really be concerned about it. I'd be like, hey, you put Tua in, the season looks like it's going to be a wash. Let Tua get in there and get the experience that he needs. All for that. Because that didn't happen, because they actually look like a competitive team, Tua has to be an upgrade from Fitz. So that's my concern. I really hope he plays well. I really hope he's everything that the Miami Dolphins envision him to be, because they passed on Justin Herbert, who is balling.
So in a nutshell, you're saying success and success fast.
Yes. I mean, it's unfair for Tua, but that's the reality, because they're going to look at the fact that Justin Herbert has been balling, and we drafted you when we could have had Justin Herbert.
Look at the sentimental value behind Tua getting his spot. He sits on the field. He calls his parents. He shares this moment. It immediately erupted on social media, him having this moment. And now you're truly thrusted into the spotlight where you have to make your name and you have to make it now. I don't know what advice you give, boy. Especially going to play the Rams and a guy named Aaron Donald.
He's the only person I'm worried about, is Aaron Donald.
I mean, what is the mindset behind the Dolphins? Is it we saw a little glimpse and we want to take advantage of that now?
Yes. Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is the reason why this is happening. Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. That's really it. Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow are playing excellent football. And Tua was thought before the injury. Tua was thought to be the best quarterback coming out of that draft.
Now you
so they're looking at it as, if Joe Burrow is playing well, Justin Herbert is playing well, and Tua has a better team than the Bengals, If he's supposed to be the best quarterback prospect out of the three, he should be flourishing when he gets in. That's how they're going to look at it. Especially for the fact that Justin Herbert played so well against the Kansas City Chiefs when only knowing that moment before the snap that he was going to be the starter for that day. Justin Herbert is the reason why this trigger is happening.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. Let's go to the NBA, shall we? But before we go to the NBA, if you're tuning in, thank you for tuning in. You're tuning into your favorite sports podcast, Roam the Airways, Rolling with Ramos, episode 100. I can't even. Episode 100. I kept it simple and just said the 100th episode, but Wilt Chamberlin scored 100 of them things, and we got 100. Thank you all for staying with us for 100 episodes in 3 years. How can you keep saying that you can't keep believing it? But 100 episodes in 3 years. Let's mosey on down to the NBA, Tristan, because we got off air the other night. And ding, 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 the alert that goes off. The big news last week of the NBA. The other team in the Staples Center, they just couldn't let the Lakers have all the fun and all the glory and all the news. They had to get in the news. They needed news of their own, Tristan. With the news of, according to Sports Illustrated, the Los Angeles Clippers have a new coach. They have officially announced the signing of Tyronn Lue, someone who is very familiar with the Staples Center, as head coach Tuesday. In a press release sent by the Clippers, both Ty Lue and Lawrence Frank spoke about the coaching position. Ty has been where we want to go, Frank said. He is a championship leading coach with an extraordinary feel for the game and the people who play it. He's one of the great minds in our league, and he's able to impart his vision to others because he connects with everybody he meets. While the Clippers interviewed numerous head coaching candidates like Mike Brown, it seemed like Ty Lue was always going to be their man. He was a coach that the players were already familiar with and a coach that already knows what to expect. We conducted a thorough search and spoke with fantastic candidates, Frank said. We found that the best choice for our team was already in our building. As a head coach, Ty will put a unique imprint on the organization and drive us to new heights. Lue himself believes his familiarity is something that made him want to join the Clippers, while some may believe the Clippers need a complete rehaul, Tristan. Lue doesn't believe so. The pieces we need are in place. Committed ownership, smart management, and elite talent on and off the court in the NBA's best market, Lue said. My familiarity with the organization, particularly Mr. Ballmer and Lawrence, confirmed this is where I want to be. The head coaching spot of the LA Clippers will be the hottest spot in the NBA, even though analysts aren't overwhelmingly picking them to win the NBA championship. There's more pressure than ever on this team. Well, we saw what happened when pressure was pressure, but that I digress. It's the definition of a championship or bust season for the Clippers. I thought we had that one already. Tyronn Lue is ready for the challenge. Now, Tristan, I done said a lot of familiar. I done used familiar a lot in this sequence. I done said familiarity a lot. In any way you can say somebody knows somebody that I know that you know, and we gonna do this together. That's the way to put it. Is Tyronn Lue the guy to put things back into perspective for the Clippers? To get them more familiar, pun intended, with a championship of their own and not just be the other team in the building? Is he up for the challenge?
Is Ty Lue up for the challenge? Sure. I get in that respect. Do I think he's going to accomplish it? No. But I give him the respect that he'll try. Listen, Ty Lue can say all the great things. It's what made him a great coach in Cleveland. He can say all the right things. But listen, The Clippers don't like each other, man. They don't like each other.
They don't get along.
You got Clippers people talking about Kawhi and Pandemic P so terribly.
Pandemic P.
They can't get
The
along.
playoff P is just that's no longer a nickname, right?
No. That's non-existent. But they listen. The players, the core, the original core of your team does not like Paul George or Kawhi. You have to fix that before you can even discuss basketball. It can't like you. How you expect them to play at that kind of high level? If they don't even like each other. They don't even like each other. You see the people that own Staples, the Lakers over there, LeBron and AD. Look, AD has been to this man's house on Taco Tuesday. Okay, they are best friends. Okay, that you cannot expect to beat the Lakers. And I'm only saying the Lakers because they're the reigning champions. You can't expect to beat the Lakers with a roster that of players that don't even like each other. And then this understand that next season is not going to be like this season. It's not. You got to deal with Golden State. I think people forgot.
Oh,
You take a year off. Y'all forgot. Okay, the babyface assassin is coming. And y'all have disrespected him. Y'all have disrespected him. Talking about all these other people that be shooting threes, talking about they shoot threes better than him. Y'all have disrespected this man. Y'all have disrespected the three God. And the three God is coming back. I just want y'all to understand
Not
that.
to mention
Klay
his
Thompson's
nice
coming
little
back.
partner, his little splash brother,
Klay Thompson.
He'll be back too.
Exactly. He'll be back too. And the thing is, I think for me, I feel like it's Golden State because you got them coming back. They have the number 2 pick in the draft. And they have cap room. They can do whatever they want with this team and be ready for contend for a title again next year. But I think people forgot. Now, you also got to deal with Utah. Okay? You got to deal with Utah. You got to deal with the Nuggets.
Yeah. Who showed
you got to deal with
Utah.
Utah.
In the bubble.
You got to deal with Utah that beat you. First of all, they beat you. They beat you. In a 7-game series, they beat you. You have to deal with them. You have to deal with the other teams in the West.
Memphis.
You got to deal with Memphis. you got to deal with him. And then let's say if you get past all of that, let's say if you get through all that, you go past all that. Let's say you get all there. More than likely, you're probably going to meet the Brooklyn Nets in the finals. Whoever's coming out the West is more than likely probably going to see the Brooklyn Nets in the finals. So you got to deal with KD, who is the second best player in the world. So don't look at this as like a sure thing that you're going to even get to the finals. And then if you somehow get to the finals, don't look at it as a sure thing that you're going to win the finals. And you got to deal with the Lakers, who are going to revamp their team. This team that just won the championship will not look the same next year. Make that clear. It will not look the same. They are going to subtract some pieces. They are going to add some pieces. People also forget that Avery Bradley did not play with the Lakers in this playoff bubble. Yes.
Will Danny Green be a part of the team next year?
No. We're going to find a way to get off that $15 million money.
Am I marking
Danny Green will not be the Lakers.
Am I marking your words on this? We can write this date down.
Yes. Yes. I'll be shocked if I see Danny Green back in it. I'll be shocked.
And if they keep him and forgive him, then what?
He better be okay with getting coming off the bench because Avery Bradley's going to be the starter. So he better be okay with getting off the bench.
Any last words on Tyronn Lue and the Clippers, Tristan?
I wish Tyronn Lue. No, I don't, because I'm a Lakers fan. I want you to have a bad season. But I like Tyronn Lue.
Being nice wasn't even going to happen, right?
Listen, I like Tyronn Lue. I thought I was one of the ones that said Tyronn Lue should have been the head coach of the Lakers, but he's not, and we're here. So hey, we'll see y'all when we unveil our 17th banner to year 0. We will see you. Okay. We'll see you in the hallway. It's going to be spectacular.
We'll see you in the hallway.
Hey, Hey, just make sure you clean up my floor when you're done, okay? That's all. Clean up my floor.
Make sure there's no C in late.
Yeah, don't leave my house a mess. Don't leave my house a mess.
Get that red stuff out of my house.
That's right. That's right.
And to be so clear that they were so ready to put the outside banners on the lights outside. They were so ready to make it Clipper blue and red so quickly.
Oh, they were ready.
Oh, they were ready. Someone else got a job in the NBA, Tristan. Another new head coach is going somewhere else. We know him from way back. He gets a new job. New Orleans Pelicans, Stan Van Gundy. According to NBA.com, the New Orleans Pelicans have named Stan Van Gundy as the team's head coach. This announcement comes today by Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations, David Griffin. Van Gundy becomes the 7th head coach in Pelicans franchise history. We are delighted to welcome Stan, his wife Kim, and their family to the New Orleans Pelicans, said Griffin. Stan's track record of success as a head coach speaks for itself. His ability to teach while building genuine relationships was one of his many strengths that drew us to him. I'm seeing a trend. All these people that know somebody that knows somebody. You got players that want their own coach now. What is Brooklyn starting? Because now KD is now cool with Steve Nash, and he done bought Steve Nash in, and Kyrie Irving is familiar. Now we talking about familiar with Tyronn Lue in the same building. The same guy that won the same guy that won with LeBron and also won with the Lakers. But we don't remember the one we won with the Lakers because Allen Iverson made a meme out of that one that has forever and years price of stepping over somebody lasting for years. But what is going on? It really is. You know what? I might actually believe Kyrie Irving. It's actually you be a coach, everybody be a coach. Because what are we giving coaching now when these players can dictate it? But anyways, Stan's track record of success as a head coach speaks for itself. His ability to teach while building genuine relationships, one of his many strengths that drew us to him. We feel like we are hiring one of the most accomplished leaders and authentic human beings in the NBA. Stan Van Gundy, he says, I am honored and excited to coach this talented group of players in New Orleans. Van Gundy joins New Orleans after spending last season as a game analyst for TNT and studio analyst for NBA TV. And the previous season as an analyst for ESPN prior to his television stint. Van Gundy served as the head coach and president of basketball operations for the Detroit Pistons from the 2014-2018 seasons, amassing a record of 152 to 176, .63 winning percentage, and leading the franchise to their first playoff berth in 2016 after a 6-year drought. We all know what happened in Orlando with the Eastern Conference Finals and leading them to a championship. He bought us what was Dwight Howard back then. A lot of people were not pleased with the firing of Alvin Gentry, Tristan. How do we feel about this new hire? How will Zion and the young talent in New Orleans, how will they do for Stan Van Gundy? How will he do in New Orleans?
So I feel the same way as I did when Alvin Gentry got fired. Because you're basically dealing with two similar coaching styles. So I'm trying to figure out what's the difference with Stan Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy knows how to coach young talent. He does. He's a great teacher. But so was Alvin Gentry. So I feel like what bothers me is that I feel like Stan Van Gundy's going to get all the long leash, all of the patience to develop the team the way he wants to develop it. But Alvin Gentry didn't get that long leash. Alvin Gentry didn't get that level of patience. And this is my problem. I'm so tired of saying it, but especially us as African Americans, we have to keep saying it because we have to keep making sure that people are aware. This is the problem that we have when black coaches don't get the chance. It's the same issue in the NFL. It's why we're so afraid for black coaches to get certain jobs in certain franchises. Like there's no way that you can have Adam Gase be your head coach when you fired Todd Bowles and the team that Todd Bowles had for the Jets were better than this team. They have been precipitatively worse since Adam Gase has taken over for the Jets. It's the same look that we're doing with the NBA. Black coaches do not get the same cushion as the white coaches. As great as Stan Van Gundy was with Orlando, as great as he was to get them to the Eastern Conference Finals, as great as he was to get them to the finals, I understand that. The Dwight Howard's best years were under Stan Van Gundy. I understand that. But there is a reason why Stan Van Gundy has not been coaching in years. There is a reason why Stan Van Gundy has went into broadcasting instead of looking at coaching. There is a reason. So for you to fire Alvin Gentry for basically you fired him in a year that he had a brand new team. It wasn't like one player came to New Orleans and you lost one player. You lost a mega star player in Anthony Davis and gave him a bunch of unproven commodities with a rookie phenom and said, make this work. And you didn't give him the chance to properly develop them. That is the issue. Brandon Ingram arguably had his best season of his career in New Orleans under who? Alvin Gentry. If you can see that these players are developing under him, why would you fire him? What were your expectations? What were you looking for out of this season that just passed that warranted you to fire Alvin Gentry? Because you shouldn't have been looking for them to make a long playoff run. You shouldn't have been looking for them to get into Eastern Conference Finals or Finals. You shouldn't have been looking for that. You should have been looking for Alvin Gentry making some kind of development to these players that as the season progressed, that it improves. That's what you should have been looking for from Alvin Gentry, and we did not get the opportunity to see Alvin Gentry fully execute that plan. But I'm pretty sure that you're going to let Stan Van Gundy have that leash, and I wish him well. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm not saying he's going to do a terrible job. I'm not wishing that he does a terrible job. I hope he does a great job and makes me put a shoe in my mouth. But what I'm saying is, I feel like Stan Van Gundy is going to get a better cushion and going to get more time to develop this team than Alvin Gentry. Same thing with Mark Jackson. You did not give him time to develop the Golden State Warriors. And as great as Steve Kerr has been as a head coach, you cannot mention the Golden State Warriors without mentioning Mark Jackson being the fundamental piece or the foundational piece that started that team. You cannot. So that is my issue that I have with these hirings that are taking place.
So what I'm hearing is inheritance isn't always the best, because where we also look at the fact that Zion's young, and Zion felt the way about Alvin Gentry being gone. He couldn't have the impact he wanted to have because he's a rookie, and
he barely played.
But he felt the way because he had a specific liking to Alvin Gentry. I think a lot of us saw Alvin Gentry firing when it came across the screen like, what? Really? This is unexpected. This shouldn't happen. I mean, they almost got into the playoffs. John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies just were a little bit better, and the push was a little bit more. They almost made it to the bubble. I'm sick and tired of people, and this goes back to Jack as well in Brooklyn. These black coaches,
Jack Vaughn.
Yeah, Jack Vaughn in Brooklyn. These black coaches making you look good despite even being able to look good. There's no way in hell Brooklyn should have been in the bubble.
Right. Absolutely.
The ability to take something out of nothing, and then you let him go, or you make him be next to the guy that you want to bring in. Something's got to give. Something has got to give.
Absolutely.
Tristan, this isn't going to make you happy because we go back into the NFL. What is one thing you're always talking about in Green Bay?
They never give help for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he had a hard day at the office last week. He looked like he didn't trust that offensive line at all. And once he started getting pick happy, which I never seen Aaron Rodgers get pick happy and look so unoriented, it was what she wrote. Aaron Brady versus Rodgers, blah blah blah. I think that the numbers aren't speaking to them in their prime. But anyways, Aaron Rodgers, 16 of 35, 160 yards, 0 touchdowns. He threw 2 picks. Rodgers was sacked 5 times, hit 13 by this Buccaneers defense. Prior to that, he only suffered 3. The Packers lose their first as he was still making something out of nothing. 38-10, they lose to the Buccaneers, Tristan. Is this game calls for alarm in Packers land? Of course, Aaron Rodgers is going to bounce back. But do we obviously see what they've left him with finally be exposed?
No. I'm not going to say that too strongly. There's 2 things I took away from this game. One, Tampa Bay's defense is shaping out more and more to be the defense. Absolutely. They're shaping out a lot more the way they had looked last year when they were really good defense. Oh, guess who's the defensive coordinator? Todd Bowles. Now,
if we're going to compare, we're going to put the icing on the cake and connect, aren't we?
I'm just saying, Jets fans. Todd Bowles is the defense coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that defense made Aaron Rodgers look human. That's all I'm saying. But so that defense is really good. Tom Brady is getting more and more comfortable, which I kept telling people. Tom Brady's going to get more and more comfortable as the season keeps going. And we all know how Tom Brady is come November. So November's coming. And Tom is like, I don't know what happens. I don't know if the moon hits him a certain way. I don't know the season. I don't know. But November comes around, Tom is at another place. So
any connection
I'm looking forward to see that.
They're nostalgically happy now.
Exactly. So that's my one take. 2, as good as LaFleur is at play calling, the coach for the Packers, Matt LaFleur, as good as he is, I think he still needs to learn how to make adjustments in game. That was my concern with him. He doesn't know how to make adjustments in game when things aren't going his way. If everything is going his way, if Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones they're wheeling and dealing, he's good. He's good to go. All the calls he'll make, he's good. But when they reach and have some kind of adversity at some point in the game, something happens with Matt LaFleur, like he can't. I'm sorry, I gotta switch my glasses. This computer is bothering me.
Putting on Megatrons.
He can't adjust on the fly. I don't know what it is about it, but that's something that's on Matt LaFleur. That's not on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers throwing for 106 some yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdown. That's an anomaly.
That's rare.
We're not going to see that again. Very rare. We're not going to see that again this season. But as far as everything else with Matt LaFleur, I think he needs to learn how to make adjustments in game. Once he can do that, they'll be fine. And I think he'll get there. But that's the one flaw that I'm seeing from him as far as coaching. But this Aaron Rodgers' performance itself, let's not. There's no need to hit the panic button. As he says, relax.
Rounding out the last 3, Tristan, the Rams and the 49ers. The 49ers pull out one against the Rams 24-16. The Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs beat the Bills 20-17. Chiefs pulled that out at the end. And they're great. Last but not least, I figured we'd freestyle this one. I didn't write nothing about this one because we kind of said a lot about it last week. And if we're going to do some more connecting, we're going to connect the Packers with their former coach, because a lot of people was doing this last week in prime time. The Cowboys and the Cardinals. I like Kyler Murray's feet. They run like this. He looks like one of those little dogs with the paws, and they just the flicker. But he's fast as hell. Anyways, the Cardinals and the Cowboys. The Cardinals beat the Cowboys in prime time, 38-10. Mike McCarthy's in the hot seat. some of the players are having issues with how the coaching in Dallas is going. Dak Prescott fumbles too early on. All week long, they've been saying it's his team. It's his team. He got to pick up the pace. It's on his back. Some Dallas Cowboy fans have told me it was always his team. Where has he been since that big contract? Dak is still out. The culture of this team is gone. If you want my personal opinion, and Andy Dalton, the Red Machine, was supposed to be the savior in Dallas for the season that they're going to have without Dak. In a division where they are 2-4 in leading it and barely holding on to thin ice. You were supposed to go to the Super Bowl now, weren't you? The Dallas Cowboys is looking kind of unkept over there in Arlington, Tristan. A lot of everybody was like this watching TV.
Oh, I was laughing. I was laughing and sipping. That's what I was doing, laughing and sipping. Here's my thing. Now, first of all, let me get this out the way. Let me get this part out the way. If I'm Dak Prescott and I'm his agent and I'm watching that game, you know what I'm doing?
Show me the ducats.
Because clearly it ain't me. Clearly it ain't me.
When he gets silent,
Jerry Jones,
because he thinks and he comes back and okay.
Jerry Jones has. I thought we were turning a corner when I saw him. I remember when he drafted Travis Frederick, drafting all those offensive linemen, drafting Zeke. I thought we were turning a corner. I said, "Oh, he's making smart decisions," and I thought we were on to something. And everyone kept complaining about Jason Garrett. Let me make something clear. Everybody kept complaining about Jason Garrett. Everybody kept complaining saying Jason Garrett was a mediocre coach. Everybody kept saying Jason Garrett 8-8 Garrett. Jason 8-8 Garrett. That's what it was. 8-8. The team did not change. The players did not change, albeit except the offense. Now, I will say the offensive line is not that great offensive line that they had when Dak first got onto the scene. No, a lot. Travis Frederick retired. Zach Martin got hurt this past game. The left tackle, Tyron Smith, we don't know what's going to happen with him. So they're dealing with backups. So except for the offensive line, the team has not changed. You brought in a coach who one of the best players in the league and arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever said he's not competent enough. Mm-hmm. You brought him in, and then he hired then a defensive coordinator and Mike Nolan, whose last time that he was in an NFL staff as a defensive coordinator was with the Atlanta Falcons back in 2014. The same Atlanta Falcons who had the 31st ranked defense at the time. 31st ranked defense. You have made the decisions that you made, not paying Dak, letting great defensive coordinators go. You let them go. You let them walk out. And you brought in Mike Nolan. One of your star linebackers can't stay healthy. Your other star linebacker looks lost. Your pass rusher, who is the highest paid on your team, has 1 sack in 6 games. Then you went and you got Andy Dalton. And there was a point in time that the Cowboys nation and the media, some of the media, had the disrespect to say that Andy Dalton could potentially compete for the starting job against Dak Prescott.
You heard what I said about Tony Dungy last week, saying this was a blessing in disguise for the Dallas Cowboys.
A blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise, Tony Dungy said, for Andy Dalton to be the starter instead of Dak Prescott. And y'all only amount to 10 points? You have Ezekiel Elliott, who's something going on, fumbling the football every which way, and got benched for nearly an entire quarter. And
Pollard came in, was
moving the football, running it like his hair was on fire. And yet and still, y'all acting like there's no reason to panic? Mike McCarthy saying that there's nothing going on?
They're great.
I'm like, Mike McCarthy, what are you talking about? You have players that are anonymously saying that your coaching staff don't know what they're doing. But y'all, everyone said it was Jason Garrett. That was the talk. If Jason Garrett goes, we're going to the chip.
And Dak isn't worth more than a franchise tag.
Look where we are. Look where we are. Everything that Cowboy Nation has said has come back to kick them in the face. Everything. Dak is not worth the money. Everything needs to go through Zeke. The defense is going to be stout. Andy Dalton's going to probably be better than Dak Prescott in this system. Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. He's better than Jason Garrett. Our offense is going to be on fire. Look where we are. And if you weren't in the worst division in the history of football,
that used to be competitive.
This would look a lot worse. But you're fortunate because you're in the same division with the Giants. You're in the same division with the Washington football team. You're in the same division with the Eagles and their struggles.
You are fortunate. Can't get rights, you know?
Yes. You are fortunate because this will be a lot worse.
Let me ask you a question. A lot of people, including you a while back, have alluded to the fact that Jerry Jones has taken some great years from a lot of people. Des Bryant is still trying to get back in this league, and I'm not understanding why Des Bryant is not in this league. But some of his best years were taken by Jerry Jones and the team that he stood with and stood for. What do you say to Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb?
If I'm CeeDee Lamb, because I don't think Amari really cares. God, I hate to say this about athletes. It's very disrespectful. But I really don't think Amari cares about football to the degree that I think he should as a professional athlete.
As great as he is?
As great as he is. I think he rests on the fact that he's such a great talent naturally. I just don't see the grit. I don't see the desire. And I know it's not for me to question because I am a media person. I am a mouth. You know what I'm saying? I didn't play it at a high level. You know, so I can't. I know I don't really have a place to speak on it. But based on my eyes and based on what I'm seeing, I just don't think he demands to be great. As for CD, if this doesn't turn around in the next few years when my contract is up, unless you're going to show me the bag, I'm finding a way to get out of it. Unless you show me the bag, I need to find my way to get out of it. Because CD is he's playing okay. But the problem with CD, the problem that I have, it's a personal thing for me. The problem that I have with CeeDee Lamb, as although he's playing pretty well, they put that 88 on his chest. That's what bothers me with CeeDee Lamb. Because there's a standard that I want you to play. And it's not his fault that he's not playing at that standard. He's doing well, but he's not playing at the standard of that 88. Because the way that Jerry disrespected the last 88. That's why I have a problem. So, exactly. So that's why I have an issue with it. That's it. So if I'm CD, I'm trying to find a way to get out of it. Honestly. But I don't know what to say about the Cowboys because I can't see this getting better. I really can't. So I don't know.
I kind of like when they close the week on a Sunday or Monday night because it's always some type of controversy that leads the week. if 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 they look bad, even if they look good, it's always something that precedes it. It's something to talk about. I don't wish them the best, but
Hey,
for the sake of what's going on there, oh my God! And Dak, I was waiting for you to say a little bit more than these little nice jibber jabbers you've been saying. I want you to have a tell-all book while you sitting in that bed. I want you to, and I know he's not that guy, but oh my God, what you are old is crazy. We close the book. We close it. Episode 100. It's in the books. Woo, we
this is a
got some
big
work
moment.
cut out for us with 101. We actually gonna have to think about what to name these things. But episode 100 of your favorite sports podcast, Roam the Aries, Rolling with Ramos, is in the books. If you missed this, go back and watch it. We will be posting on our YouTube channel, Rolling with Ramos. If you're on the go, you gotta go to work in the morning, drop the kids off. If they're going to school, pray for these little kids going back to school. These kids should not be guinea
Yeah.
pigs, but I know education has to happen, but come on. But if you're going your way to school, work, if you're walking down the street, it's been a nice couple of days, put the headphones in, catches everywhere you get your podcast from, Google playlist, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find Roll with Ramos, baby. We out here. Episode
We out here.
100. Thank you. And I'm going to say it like I say it every week. I don't care if it does not rhyme. It's still mine. I'm Mikkel, like Kevin McHale. We'll see you next week for 101. There used to be my show. This is 101. But that really
Oh
doesn't have
my
anything
God.
to do with it. But we'll see you next week for 101. Have a good night. Get some sleep, people. We love you. Tristan, it's another one. See you next week.
It's
Peace.
it's always a pleasure. See you next week.
Peace.